Actions. Work header. 130,374. Chapters. 20. Comments. 1263. Kudos. 3,827. Bookmarks. 708. Hits. 139,145. In heat. Eika tsukiyomi. Chapter 15. We're already wet and we're gonna go swimming. Summary. Neither Marinette nor Adrian know what to expect from this big double date at the aquatic center, but they're both definitely determined to have a good time. Adrian's concerned he might end up misbehaving around Marinette again, while Marinette just hopes she won't scare Adrian by ogling him like the horny girl in love that she is. It turns out they weren't wrong to worry, but they've also reached something of a new understanding, and it'll take a lot more than some awkward interactions to shake up their friendship. If only figuring out their own feelings for each other was just as easy, will this date help everything fall into place? Notes. For those not familiar with the differences between the French and English dubs of the show, Nino's little brother is named Noel in the French dub, but Chris in the English dub. This was to make sure that his supervillain name would make sense in both languages. Chris Master equals his name is Chris, and he's the master of Christmas. Maître Noël equals his name is Noel, and he's the master maître of Christmas Noel. Actions. Work header. Chapter text. Wednesday, September 7th. As the alarm on Marinette's phone continued to ring, Tiki hovered over Marinette and watched her squirm slightly in her sleep. Her breathing came faster and deeper than usual from her slightly parted lips as she clung to her pillow with both arms wrapped around it and her hips undulating against nothing under the covers. Tiki wasn't surprised that Marinette was having another erotic dream, almost definitely about Chat Noir. Marinette rarely slept through her alarm unless she was sleep deprived. Her problem was usually that she hit the snooze button too many times, but Tiki knew that her dreams of Chat Noir would be more vivid and immersive than normal during her heat, and so it wasn't surprising that all the ringing went ignored. Tiki wondered idly if Plag's owner was dreaming about Ladybug right now. Tiki had an ongoing theory that, if a Ladybug and Black Cat pair were compatible enough, they might have an increased tendency to dream about each other simultaneously, and maybe, just maybe, they could even learn to communicate through lucid dreams. Tiki wished she and Plag could meet with Master Fu to talk and exchange ideas about this mating cycle. Did Master Fu know how quickly Ladybugs and Chat Noir's symptoms would develop, and why? Neither of the two possible explanations Tiki had considered seemed satisfactory. Could the speed at which Ladybug's heat was advancing really be attributed to how compatible she and Chat Noir were with each other? Tiki couldn't see for herself exactly how compatible they were, of course, only deduce what she could about their relationship from what Marinette said and from those rare interactions Marinette had with Chat Noir when she wasn't Ladybug. Actions. Work header. Chapter text. Well, there was also every interaction Marinette had with Adrian, but Tiki wasn't sure yet how much significance to place on their evolving relationship. Marinette hadn't mentioned feeling any differently around Adrian lately, and Adrian could very well be falling for Marinette without their mating cycles having anything to do with it. But if the mating cycle was part of the reason they were being drawn to each other in their ordinary lives, then it could also explain why their symptoms were developing so quickly. Either way, there was no precedent, and therefore no way to be sure, at least not yet. I guess all I can do is keep my eyes and ears open when I can and help Marinette figure this whole situation out, Tiki mused. She smiled to herself. For now, I'd better make sure she gets to school on time. Marinette, she called, flying down to give Marinette's cheek a gentle shove. It's time to wake up. Marinette squeaked and startled awake, blinking blearily at the far wall of her room and frowning miserably in sleepy confusion. I'm sorry to interrupt your dream, Tiki apologized, touching down on the pillow and giving Marinette's nose a soothing pat. Sake, Tiki, Marinette mumbled, smiling sleepily at her Kwame as she slowly sat up and stretched. Although, she looked suddenly thoughtful. Now that I try to think back, I can't remember if I was dreaming about Chat Noir, or Adrian, or both, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised either way, or both. Maybe you kept switching between them without realizing it. Tiki took to the air again to subtly remind Marinette to get moving. Marinette slowly untangled herself from her bedcovers and took her time coming down the stairs to the main floor of her room. Marinette started getting dressed almost on autopilot. I can't remember for sure if I saw either of their faces clearly. I just remember us holding each other and feeling. She blushed. It felt familiar, somehow, like it must have been Chat Noir because, well, Chat Noir and I are kind of used to touching each other a lot, so I might be able to recognize him by his touch alone. Tiki giggled and Marinette stuck out her bottom lip in a bashful pout but continued, but I'm almost positive we were both. Naked. Tiki guessed. Marinette whined and covered her face with her hands for a moment in mortification. That's the weird part, though. I've never felt anybody's bare skin against mine, and certainly not Chat Noir's. I mean, I've imagined Adrien without any clothes on, but if you could only dream about things you had experienced in real life, it would just be like reliving memories in your sleep, Tiki pointed out, shrugging. But sometimes dreams are even stranger than anything you can imagine. I don't think it's weird at all, unless. Tiki tilted her head at Marinette curiously. Quote. You feel like the dream means something. Marinette looked taken aback. What? But I thought. What could it even mean? Marinette laughed awkwardly. We already know I'm in heat, and I was already a teenage girl in love before that, so of course I'm gonna have horny dreams, right? Tiki hesitated, realizing she couldn't say anything helpful without saying too much. She smiled apologetically and shrugged. Don't always have all the answers, even if I am your Kwame. Tiki said, waving a placating paw. I may have helped every ladybug through their mating cycle, when they had one, but every ladybug is different, and no two mating cycles are going to develop the same way. Yours has definitely thrown us an unexpected twist, but don't worry, we'll figure it out together. I know, it just reminds me that Marinette brought her hands up to her cheeks bashfully. Quote. That I have feelings for two boys now and I have no idea how I'm going to choose between them. Wow. Has Chat Noir caught all the way up to Adrien already? Tiki asked excitedly. Wah. Well. Marinette looked even more flustered. I've loved Adrien for so long, at least, it feels like a really long time, and I've only just started feeling like this for Chat Noir. On the other hand, I've known Chat Noir just as long as I've known Adrien, and we've been through so much together. I mean, I feel bad thinking that anybody else could have something that Adrien doesn't, but Chat and I have this unique bond that's come from us being partners in protecting Paris together. Marinette wrapped her arms around herself as if to hug something invisible and stared wide-eyed at Tiki. I really am in love with Chat Noir, aren't I? Tiki just beamed at her. Tilda. Having the double date to look forward to was exactly what Adrien needed to face the day. Not even the subtle itching under his skin could get his spirits down. The only thing that worried him slightly was the fact that he'd have to somehow get through school without losing his head around Marinette before they even got to the aquatic center. He'd accepted that he was bound to embarrass himself one way or another eventually, because he was going to be faced with the sight of Marinette in a swimsuit, and no way was he going to survive that unscathed. If he could just keep it together until then, he'd call it a small victory. Just be yourself, act normal, no big deal. Tilda. Oh, Adrien, how are you so perfect? Ack. He's looking at me. Marinette froze like a deer in headlights. Ignoring the butterflies in his stomach, Adrien smiled at her as he approached his seat, only for Chloe to suddenly throw her arms around him from out of nowhere. Adri Cho. You should come sit next to me. Also, why haven't you come over already? It's been so long. Hey, Chloe. Adrien struggled to compose a response to the overload of information Chloe had just dumped on him. Yeah, I know it's been a while. I've been really busy lately, you know how my father kept my schedule full even over the summer. I've only just managed to get an afternoon free, and I've already made plans, so. But Adricho, I never even got to enjoy the pool with you, and the brand new hot tub. Chloe whined, clinging to his arm. Daddy had new tile put down in the pool, and color changing lights so it looks so amazing at night, and you can adjust the jets in the hot tub however you want, and. That sounds really nice, Chloe, Adrian said politely, as Marinette gnashed her teeth in silent petulance, but I'm actually going to the new aquatic center with some friends, and since I was the one invited, it wouldn't be polite of me to have you tag along. The aquatic center? Chloe squealed in horror, recoiling and appearing to gag at the thought. Ah. Adrian, why would you go to any kind of public pool? They're disgusting, absolutely crawling in germs. And the water is way too chlorinated, it could turn your hair green. I'm pretty sure the chlorine is to kill all the germs, and my hair will be fine as long as I wash it afterward, Adrian assured her. As for sitting next to you, it was nice of you to save me a seat, but I'm happy sitting next to Nino where I always have. With that, Adrian sat down next to Nino, hoping Chloe would take the hint and let the conversation go. She pouted but didn't have the opportunity to respond, as their homeroom teacher walked in at that moment. Tilda tilde tilde. Later today, I'm going to see that boy in nothing but a swimsuit, Marinette thought for the 100th time, staring down at the back of Adrian's head. I am so thoroughly screwed. She fidgeted in her seat, trying and failing to not picture Adrian's gloriously naked torso, for the 100th time, and trying, and failing, again to ignore the tickle of moisture gathering between her lips down below. Adrian, meanwhile, was assuring himself for the 100th time that he could not feel Marinette's eyes on him. You're imagining it, it's all in your head, it's all in your head, well, the part of your head where your libido sits, anyway, he thought. No matter what you've read, you cannot actually feel when someone's staring at you, or can you? Maybe if it was ladybug burning eye holes into the back of my skull, I could feel it, because we have a special connection. He smiled dreamily. Maybe someday, I'll be able to call us soulmates. The bell rang, and of course, Marinette and Adrian were among those most startled by the noise. Tilde tilde tilde. I've been feeling nervous about this date all day, Adrian admitted aloud as he searched his wardrobe for his swim briefs. And I can't even figure out why. I mean, sure, Marinette will be there, and I still can't figure out how I feel about her, but I'm not sure what I'm afraid might go wrong, either. I mean, it's technically still a platonic date with friends, right? From what I've heard, it sounds like this is a date to figure out if your future dates could be romantic, am I right? Plag remarked. I still don't see how you could make a date involving so much water seem romantic, anyway. So, I should just act totally normal and not overcomplicate things, Adrian decided. That makes this whole thing a lot less nerve-wracking, too. I guess the worst case scenario is if goes just like a platonic date with friends and I don't learn anything about my feelings for Marinette. Well, no, the worst case scenario would be if you completely lost your head and turned your date into a one-night stand, it's called, right? When did you start watching those kinds of shows? Adrian asked, snickering. I don't know if I like the idea of you learning about one-night stands and all that stuff. While you're in heat, I'm forced to be your guide in all matters of love and seduction whether I like it or not. Plag said loftily. If you know of better ways to research methods of human matchmaking, let me know. One-night stands tend to happen with unfaithful lovers cheating on each other with mysterious strangers, Adrian explained, patting Plag on the head. I'd like to avoid that little facet of human romance. Text. Even with Ladybug? Plag asked, crossing his arms. Well, I'd be afraid of making things awkward between us later, Adrian said, blushing. So, it'd be better if we agreed to date exclusively first. Whatever you say, Plag shrugged. If I were you, though, I'd prepare for the possibility that you two might not be able to resist the urge. Come on, Plag, have a little faith in me. Adrian admonished. Our solidarity as a team is too important to risk shaking up with anything we might regret later. And I will not be a slave to my urges. You're not wrong, but the thing is, the mating cycle isn't meant to damage your team dynamic. Plag pointed out. It's meant to bring you two closer, in every way possible. What, are you saying that because we are both feeling attracted to each other, we're guaranteed not to fall out because of anything we do as a result? Adrian frowned doubtfully. Would our symptoms not get worse if it meant hurting our relationship? That sounds way too convenient. And Adrian's brow furrowed suddenly. If that's how it really worked, you could have told me this a lot sooner, when I first started worrying about it. Plag just stared at Adrian for a moment, appearing to deliberate what to say next. Every ladybug and black cat are different, and their relationships have all been different, Plag finally said. Not all of them fought evil together long enough to go into heat. And of those who did, not all of them ended up having sex. But, of those who did, none of them ended up losing their friendships because of it. Now, I never saw a black cat not go into heat when it was time for his mating cycle, but I can't know for sure if that was because he and Ladybug would break up if he did, or just because it doesn't work that way, like you say. Ladybug's Kwame and I know everything we know about the mating cycles from what we've learned in our past experiences. We weren't born knowing everything about it, and seeing how strangely your mating cycle is developing, it's pretty obvious we still don't. Adrian stared back at Plag as he processed this. Well, then that tells us it is possible that our partnership might not survive if we ended up sleeping together and either of us regretted it later. The thought that either of them ever could regret making love was a painful one to dwell on, but it was a possibility he could not afford to forget. Quote. Which means we can't afford to let our feelings overwhelm us, no matter how real and irresistible they seem. Adrian hung his head sadly, only to jerk it back as Plag smacked him on the nose. Ow. What was that for? It hadn't actually hurt. Adrian was just completely shocked and baffled by Plag's inexplicably emotional reaction. Separating the physical feelings of lust from your emotional feelings of love is tough, I know. Plag granted shortly. And you and Ladybug can't afford to lose each other's partnership, it's true. But no matter how good a team you already are, your mating cycles will try to bring you two even closer, in every possible way. No matter how far away you are from each other, your mating cycles will draw you closer together, because you'll start missing each other more and more. You're already partners in fighting evil together, but if you could become partners in other ways. Plag paused and seemed to hesitate. He took a deep breath and appeared to calm down somewhat. Because you two are supposed to keep your identities secret, no matter what, the safest thing to do would be to never let yourselves become any closer than partners and friends, but, if you fell in love anyway, then what? What if love could strengthen your partnership? Ladybugs and black cats before you two have asked this question, and we never had any better answers than to stick to the rules to protect yourselves. But we'd still wonder, what's the point of the mating cycle, then? Is it just to get you to pass on offspring that might make good superheroes in your place if you ever lost? That seemed like the answer that made the most sense, but there are holes in the theory. What if one of you died in childbirth? What if you died before the children could fend for themselves? What if the children were turned against their parents? What if the ladybug and black cat just couldn't raise offspring? There are so many ways it could go wrong. But Plag shrugged hopelessly. The only other explanation we could ever think of was that it was just to bring Ladybug and Black Cat closer together so that they could become stronger together. But obviously, that could go wrong in a lot of ways, too.